What's up, metal and heavy music fans? This is FlightOfIcarus again with MetalTrenches.com. As always, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel and give us a like. Today I'm doing another episode of bands that changed my life, and I was inspired because it's actually my birthday when I'm recording this, and I discovered that I share a birthday with a very important album from a very important band, and that is the Dillinger Escape Plan. Mathcore giants, hugely influential in the scene and really across genres. It's hard to find a band that can't appreciate what the Dillinger Escape Plan has done. So this was a band that, of course, I bought Calculating Infinity. That was my introduction to them, as it probably should be. I came to it quite late. I picked it up in college at like a local downtown hole-in-the-wall record store. And of course, I was definitely intrigued with its just utter raw chaos and intensity. I hadn't listened to a whole lot of music in that style at that point. I didn't even really listen to more chaotic genres like grindcore, and wasn't really listening to a lot of hardcore either. So it was definitely pretty out there for me. But ultimately, it was Miss Machine, the album that I share a birthday with, that really blew my top off. So that was an album that, I caught wind of it. I knew it was coming out, and I was kind of interested to see what these guys were going to do next. I'm pretty sure I was aware of the vocalist change and was curious how that was going to pan out. But I bought it on release day. I actually took the bus from my college campus to downtown Chicago and picked it up at a Best Buy I would go to quite frequently, back when Best Buy was still a place to go to buy music, which is definitely not the case anymore. All the ones by me don't even have music anymore. But I don't think I'd heard anything from it yet. This was back before sampling stuff in advance was still kind of a new thing. Obviously, they would put out singles and music videos and stuff, but I wasn't as tapped in, and of course, Spotify didn't exist. There was obviously downloading software, but BitTorrents didn't even really exist yet. And so there just weren't as many ways. And it was still just sort of typical to go out and just buy the album, regardless of whether you knew it was going to be good or not. Imagine that. So I was just interested to hear where it was going to go. And I was definitely intrigued by the very weird artwork that it has on it too. I actually picked up the 2-disc digipack, which I am looking at right now as I record this. It is still the copy that's sitting on my shelf. And so I took it back to the dorm and I popped that bad boy in, and Panasonic Youth blew my fucking eardrums out. And that song really was just one of those wow moments. It reminds me kind of, it's like a similar feel to the first time I saw the opening heist scene from The Dark Knight. It's just it hits you on such a visceral level, and it's just spellbinding. It's like, holy shit. They go straight to the punch with vicious vocals and just a bedlam of panic chords and all that jazzy technical guitar work that they're known so well for. And then there were other cuts too that just totally caught me off guard, like Sunshine the Werewolf. And then even the more accessible alternative tinge tracks like Setting Fire to Sleeping Giants. I was so interested in how they were able to balance these completely chaotic, ridiculous, outrageous technical instrumental parts with these really catchy choruses. And I loved Dan's versatility and in his vocals and how that was such a big part of that. So I got intrigued by them even more, started exploring interviews, and discovered that Dan and I had a shared love of Nine Inch Nails, which made even more sense listening to some of the more electronified cuts like Unretrofied. And I went on to discover the connections to Mike Patton as well, because I, again, wasn't really as aware of them in detail up until Miss Machine came out. And so I ended up backtracking, of course, to Mike Patton's quick stint with the band, which is another high point for them. I'm the best you'll ever have. And I was hooked from then on. Like, this really opened the floodgates to many other mathcore groups, and I ended up buying and loved every album. Ira Works is fantastic. I know some people were kind of down on it, but that's one of my favorites from them. I remember seeing the video for Black Bubblegum probably on Headbangers Ball, because that was still kind of in its final years of their resurgence. And then later on too, the Farewell Mona Lisa music video, catching that on YouTube and being like, man, these guys just can't make a bad song. Like, they're just one of the greats. And then they dropped One of Us is the Killer. And so that was a late career, like one of my favorites too. Like, that's probably in my top 3 from them. And every song on that album is just incredible. So many just amazing, captivating moments. So it's cool that this is another one of those bands that not only like changed my life with that initial punch of particularly Miss Machine, but then over my lifespan, moving into adulthood, continuing to have those moments with me over time. I saw them live with the number 12 Looks Like You at Reggie's in Chicago. And of course, Dan climbed the rafters like the gorilla of a man that he is so famous for. I wish I had gotten a chance to catch them doing their famous like spitting fire and all that stuff. But I think a lot of venues had kind of put the kibosh on that because of like fire codes and things of that nature. But in any case, while a lot of people were really sad when they announced that they were calling it quits, I was honestly happy. Like, I think it's better to see a band go out at the absolute top of their game, at their zenith, as opposed to see them kind of linger on and just do some real damage to their name. And just to bring back Batman thing to kind of bookend this, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And so unlike bands like Metallica, which I feel like have very much seen themselves become the villain, the Dillinger Escape Plan get to leave a largely untarnished legacy that's going to be a really powerful one that people are going to remember for a long, long time, and I think they're going to be considered one of the greatest metal bands, period, of all time. So that's my little tribute to the Dillinger Escape Plan and what they meant to me as a band, as musicians, as an integral part of my metalhead journey. And I'm interested, as always, to hear in the comments what your reactions to these albums were. Did you have similar experiences? What other bands were life-changing for you? What other bands would you be interested in hearing me talk about? And yeah, just engage. Please subscribe to the channel once more if you haven't already. And if you're a regular viewer, regular listener, please consider becoming a patron. Like, it really helps us cover the overhead and make this site just more and more impressive. Go to metaltrenches.com, check out all the reviews there of all of the other amazing underground artists that are coming out now that still kind of change my life often to this very day. And stick around and watch these other videos. But for now, this is Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches. Finding a way to die.